Hello out there, CMN students. This is Mr. Miller with your weekly Tech Talk tip. This week, we're going to talk about the OSI Reference Model. We've been learning about it in class, but sometimes it takes a lesson or two to get that concept in your brain. The goal of today's podcast is to help you remember the most important key aspects of the OSI model for future classroom discussions and classroom projects. First and foremost, what exactly is the OSI Reference Model? Simply put, the OSI Reference Model, developed in 1977, is a model that is used to explain how communication takes place between two network devices. Think about your computer sending something to a printer, or maybe your phone connecting on a wireless internet connection. The information going from one device to another is the whole point of this model. Each layer in the model does a specific task and passes the information on to another layer. It is important for technicians to understand this because different layers do different aspects of computer networking and computer security. Now that we understand the purpose of it, how many of you can remember each of the 7 layers in the correct order? There are many ways to remember the 7 layers in the correct order. Does anyone remember from our textbook the phrases like "do not throw sausage pizza away" or "all people seem to need data processing"? Those are just a simple couple ways of remembering them, but there are many other ways, or you can make your own. The key thing here is to understand that there are 7 layers and knowing the 7 layers in the correct order. It's also important to understand which direction in the OSI model, if you are going down the model or up the model. So let's dive into it. If you're on the sending device, you are going down the OSI reference model, meaning you start on layer 7 or the application layer. When you leave the device, like if you are leaving a computer or sending information, you start at layer 7 and you work all the way to layer 1, or the physical layer. On the receiving computer, it would be the exact opposite order. You would start on layer 1 and work your way back up to layer 7. So everyone got that? You start at layer 7 and work to layer 1 if you're on the sending device, or if you're on the receiving device, you start at layer 1 and work to layer 7. Okay, so now what exactly are the 7 layers? Do you remember them? Let's recite them one by one. The first layer, or I guess starting in the correct order, layer 7 is the application layer. Layer 6, the presentation layer. Layer 5 is the session layer. Layer 4, transport layer. Layer 3, network layer. Layer 2, data link layer. And layer 1 is the physical layer. Just realize that the OSI reference model is the industry standard model to show how the process is broken down into a series of smaller tasks. Other models, which we will learn in future podcasts, have different amount of layers. For example, TCP/IP, which we've been also learning about in class, has a Department of Defense model, which is broken into 4 layers. Next year, when we experiment with Cisco hardware, Cisco has a 3-layer model. Ironically, both the TCP/IP and the Cisco model also reference the OSI model. Once again, OSI is the industry standard, so if you can learn this, you will be successful. Many projects and future careers refer to things on the OSI model. For example, you might hear a technician say, "Hey, install a layer 5 switch," or a layer 3 firewall. So it's important you know these 7 layers and this stuff. In next week's podcast, we'll explain a little more on what happens on each of the layers and actually go into it a little more in depth. So this is Mr. Miller saying thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you come back to listen to next week's Tech Talk tip. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in class.